Good morning, everyone, and I hope you're feasting on those worms from yesterday that all the early birds managed to get. There was winners galore. This is March into Madness. I'm with Dr. Donnie and Dr. Max, and we're going to go through a little bit of what happened yesterday, a little bit what happened last night, and 16 games will be capped. Morning, Donnie. Morning, Max.
Feeling good, man. Flash, it's always nice to be back here on the channel to Sportsbook with you. What a day yesterday. A lot of engagement. The show was received extremely well. This is fun. And gotta say there, Flash, yesterday, doing a show with not that many headlining games. What a smorgasbord we got today. We're going to get after it and have some fun like we always do here, Flash.
Max, 16 games we're going to go through today. Are you ready?
Oh, absolutely, Flash. I'm excited to be here with you and Donnie. And also, I've had fluids extracted. I was under a bridge late last night with my $25, and I'm ready to go today.
You had your fluids extracted for $25. That sounds like an absolute class act that I want to be envisaging early in the morning, Max. Let's go to you, Donnie. Duke gets the W. FSU get the win in the first half, plus 4.5. So there's a little worm that you were chewing on, Donnie.
No, it was beautiful. Hey, it didn't work out well for us. We said yesterday, because sometimes, Flash, when we talk about games, and the beauty part about this show is you get in the side of me, get in the mind of me, Max, and Flash of why we like to make plays, because it's not always about what you see on paper. Yes, it's really hard to beat Duke at home. Yes, Duke is a really good basketball team, but when some of these matchups come in, it's not so much about the X's and O's. It's about the Jimmies and the Joes making plays out there. Plus 4.5. These guys partied. We know they did. Florida State almost put out the outright game, but hey, we'll take that early worm, Flash, with FSU in that first half. Worked out well.
Max, I'm happy to put a line through both of these. Won't see them deep into the bracket. Is that too hasty from your host?
I think that it's a little hasty when it comes to Florida State specifically. I think that when we get into the tournament, teams without a lot of depth and without a lot of physicality are going to have problems with 7-footer Belarusian Koprika in the middle. I think that when you look at Duke, definitely they played with fire and they've tempted fate a couple too many times. I think that if they play like that in the tournament, we'll be seeing them exit very early.
Yeah, I'm not having them. I really don't. I think that they're just getting by. Listen, these two are like 7 and 8 seeds. FSU, obviously, we took the points. Moving on, because we've got such a big card that wants to be capped, and the winners are there for us. Carlick Jones and Radford got another big road win. That Winthrop, 81-77, Max.
Yeah, this was a real exciting game to watch because Radford got out to a huge lead. Winthrop tried their best in the second half to come back. They proved to be a very good second half wager once again. And the fact was, this was a revenge game. Radford was getting a little too many points, and they showed why. Okay,
Donnie, Hampton turned on the gas. They got the job done over Asheville, and we missed out by just the point.
Yeah, it's yesterday, I'm betting myself. I always like to take a look at team totals. I was even leaning towards UNC Asheville's team total earlier in the day, but actually made a play myself on Hampton's team total, Flash, over 81. If you don't mind, Flash, the score ended at 80, and there's no way that can go back and buy points to make this a winner, and we always have this. Look, we're the betting public out here, right? We watch these games, and if you watch this game on ESPN+, me, Max, and Flash would have killed this as opposed to the announcers that you're getting, but that's what type of level that you get of the announcing. The only problem with that game was, Flash, missed free throw with a minute to go, missed three-pointer late in the game, and as always, if I was on the opposite side, Flash, it was a 10-point game. Nobody fouled in the last 30 seconds when Hampton had the ball. If I was on the opposite side, they would have had 6 fouls in those last 30 seconds. But hey, beggars can't be choosers. Max was right on this one. Hampton -2 was the play.
And that's the beauty. I mean, just because you have a play or Max has a play, you pay your money, you take your chance, but you got that worm on your fork, but you missed your mouth by 1 point. Well, tell me about Colgate, because they cleaned their teeth on Boston and they absolutely smashed them 79-63 and a 2-game lead, Max.
Yeah, I think that it was a really nice battle of 1 versus 2 in the Patriot League. We saw Boston University tie at half. So unfortunately, it was a loss on the first half on BU. But the fact was, Colgate came back strong in the second half. They rebounded the basketball. They forced turnovers. They got to the free throw line. And they just made buckets when they needed to and got stops when they had to. And with a seasoned, experienced team like Colgate with tournament experience, they're looking to make it 2 years in a row back to the tournament.
I tell you, I was going to go with Boston yesterday, and I know that you said, I thought Boston would have been good things after the amount of fouls they gave up in the first game. But Colgate really came to the party. Texas Tech, they certainly came to the party. 88-42 over TCU, Donnie. That is emphatic.
No, it was yesterday, you guys know I'm a total player, right? And usually over the total, team total's over. I like to find some value. But yesterday going over this card saying, Jesus, Flash, look at this team and how they score, talking about TCU in conference play, and then you're going to roll over and say we're going to go on the road and play Texas Tech and come up with a few things. 2 points through like 15 minutes, barely 5 or 6 points through 10 minutes. They end up with 42 points, well short of that 58.5 team total. Texas Tech is ready for the tournament. That's a really good team. TCU, Jamie Dixon and the boys, better luck next year, Flash.
Max, you were certainly eating with Baylor. We went -3.5. I was saying go -4 first half. Low scoring. And we covered. Remember, it started at 8. Went down to 5.5. Both ends, you got paid.
Yeah, last night was a really frustrating time watching that Baylor game because the whole time I'm wondering, when is Texas going to go on a run? When are they going to take the lead? And when is Baylor going to lose this game? Because they were trying to lose this game. The offense was terrible. The lack of execution, the lack of ball movement. They were succumbing to the pressure of Shaka Smart's defensive philosophy. And I think that when you look at this Baylor performance from last night, they could be tempting fate once again in their next game and the game after. This is a team that I'm glad we got the cash with, but it's definitely opened my eyes from a performance perspective on the road that I'm not going to feel as comfortable next game out.
And that's the big thing, that we look at the number one side and they're not convincing. We look at a side ranked 18, 19, 20. I mean, LSU went from 18 down to ranked 25 on yesterday morning's rankings. They're all going to beat everyone, and we're going to find some proper value. That's the review done. Let's get on the hot topics. Duke win 6 straight win. They're not even in the same class as Louisville, Donnie.
Look, I don't know. I think Duke can actually overcome this one. And I think they could take the lead in the ACC. The one thing I like about the game last night, Flash, wasn't so much that obviously Duke didn't cover the spread, but the fact they won, you say, wait a second, Donnie, they won at Cameron. It's what they're supposed to do each and every time. But that shows the maturity of a team, even some young players getting in the mix. That's why Coach K is a legend going into the Hall of Fame, the winningest coach of all time in college basketball, because of games like this, Flash, coming off a heated rivalry game late on Saturday night, pulling the team together, going up against a really formidable Florida State squad, pulling out that win. That showed me a lot. And if we take a look at the games going down the stretch, what's their toughest game, Flash, going on the road versus Virginia on February the 29th on Saturday? Outside of that, they should be able to be close to running the table for the ACC. I think they can overtake Louisville here, Flash.
Yeah, I'm not so sure, Donnie. Max, who'd you fancy, me or Donnie?
I think that Louisville is going to be able to take the ACC regular season title. I think that when you play the pack line defense and you have a standout scorer, Jordan Nwora, it definitely makes a difference. But you're going to need performances from all throughout the lineup, and it's going to start with your point guard play. If you can't get good point guard play out of Lamar Kimball, you're going to have problems with a team like Duke, because you know that Trey Jones is coming. Jones is coming to play. So when I look at this Louisville team, I still like the size that they have. I like that they can play at multiple different tempos, and I think that when they're going to be at home, that's where they're going to be the most value to me as far as betting. But as far as Duke overcoming and taking the ACC regular season title, I'm not sold on that yet.
No, and I'm certainly not sold. In fact, I'm happy to put a line for them right now. The importance of making free throws late on in games, and especially the Longwood game, Max.
Oh my God, what a terrible beat yesterday. Listen, I give it up to all these guys that get on the court and actually play these games while I'm sitting back on my chair watching, judging. But the fact is, there's a deeper three-point line, so there's more emphasis on getting close to the bucket and scoring 2% buckets. And in a game where you get a foul with 1.7 seconds left, and it's a 1-on-1 and you don't hit that free throw and you have 1.5 on the spread, it just kills you. The fact is, I don't understand why Division I basketball players don't have a higher emphasis on hitting free throws. Free throws matter to bettors, to people that are going to vilify them on social media, and the Longwood game was another example of that, in addition to the Baylor game.
Johnny, the Big Ten, such a strong conference. Let's ride them home favourites.
You know, it's a good point, Flash, in this as we bring up, because obviously the Big Ten, the home teams have been rolling, and there has to be something to it. And sometimes when you're trying to think outside the lines and what actually matters, when we talk about home court advantage, yes, in some of the smaller conferences, some of these teams are taking buses 6 and 7 hours. They don't get the 5-star charter jets that Kentucky would get when they're flying down to play maybe South Carolina or Florida. But looking at these home teams, you have big cavernous stadiums in the Big Ten that are well attended, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 seats, where it's intimidating to go into those atmospheres. And that means a lot. So if you have teams cheering, and again, Max saying like, hey, on the free throw line, these guys are screaming. When you go to some of these lower level games, even mid-majors, you're getting 400, 4,000, 4,500, something in that range, where maybe you're not that effective. Say, hey, I could play in this open gym. It's just like my gym at home here. But playing on the road in the Big Ten obviously is a problem, and it's sticking out this year. Home teams roll in the Big Ten.
They certainly roll, but I tell you what, the gaps are too big sometimes, and there's value on taking the underdog only on the spread, though, Max.
Yeah, I would say it depends on the number, depends on the situation. I can't really generalize that, but I will say that when we look at these home faves, I haven't been to a great deal of college basketball games being in Canada, obviously, but when I went to the James Naismith Classic and I watched these same Bonaventure fans get behind their team and will them to victory, whether it be at the free throw line, whether it be on a great offensive possession, I can understand how difficult it can be to do what you normally do and have done your whole life on the road, especially in the Big Ten. So I'll be looking at some home favorites in the Big Ten tonight, and I think that that's going to be something that we're going to be able to continue to ride and cash on.
Let's get a little bit closer to the 16 picks that we're going to be going through, the 16 games. That's absolutely massive. Home underdogs, value or no value on tonight's card, Max?
Yeah, I think that there is some value on some of these home dogs, and I think that it's a really ugly one, but Vanderbilt, that's going to be someone that I think has some value. Vanderbilt's coming off a bad performance on the road against Mississippi State. I think that they're very Jekyll and Hyde. They get up and down the floor. They're high-volume free throw shooting team. I think Kentucky, coming off their first win on the road in Tennessee in 5 years, that's going to play a big difference. Against Tennessee. So I think that's going to play a big difference. I think that Kentucky has a letdown spot. I think Vanderbilt has definite value as a home dog, and I think that Mississippi does also. So we'll get a little deeper into these games, but tonight I think that the home dogs are going to be barking, that's for sure.
Donnie, Vanderbilt, we said yesterday, they put up 99 at home last week against LSU. Saban Lee, Evans, young Pippin, they were on sizzle mode.
No, they actually were on sizzle mode, and that might be the issue, because coming into that basketball game, I believe the announcers were saying they averaged like 59 or 60 points in conference play. Yeah, and they go, plus 40 in that game? You're going to have a backtrack, and sometimes the last, maybe they can do it again. Usually that's not the case, and we're talking about a Vanderbilt team that's not, a 500 team in the SEC play. Let's keep in mind, they have like one win in 2 years in SEC play. They're due to fall back. I think that was a one-game anomaly where everything went right, every three ball went in. I think they're going to backtrack here sooner.
Talk about backtracking. Any chance San Diego 24-0, they get beat tonight against New Mexico? Not so sure, but I wouldn't put my money on them to go to 25-0.
Yeah, I think that.
Go ahead, Max.
Sorry, I think this is a pretty simple answer. San Diego State's winning tonight.
Okay, well, that's simple from you, Max. I expect nothing else. Donnie, can you give me something that's not so simple?
You know what's interesting about this game, and we're going to break this game down a little bit later. There's some interesting injury/suspension factors coming back in this game where I still think San Diego State wins, but I think it might be closer than some of the odds makers expect here.
Yeah, I think it's all about the W. I just think that they can take their foot off the gas, just make sure they win. Is there a game on the board tonight, Max, that you really love?
I think that from a number perspective, that's how I decide what I love. And I think that a game that the numbers really like is just Rhode Island. I think with Rhode Island as a 10-point dog going on the road against Dayton tonight, we've seen Tyrese Martin really become the X factor for this Rhode Island team in conference play. I think that he has a big impact tonight. Don't forget, this is going to be the matchup of the Toppin brothers. Obviously, Obi is one of the best players in the nation, but Jacob is playing on Rhode Island. He's getting some minutes. I think he's going to develop. And the fact is, when you look at this Rhode Island team, they have not lost in 10 games. Same thing with Dayton. I think that this is just a line that's just too many points. I took Rhode Island plus 10, and I'm quite confident with it because my numbers have this as a 5-point spread.
Wow, so you're getting 100% uplift. Max has got it at 5. You can get 10 on Rhode Island. Donnie, is there a game where you like the game, but you want to play more in live betting?
Yeah, and you know what? This is a little bit of a stem-off flash from Saturday because this is a really interesting team. We're talking about Mid-Atlantic, I should say, the MAC play today. Central Michigan and Eastern Michigan. He said, well, why would you pick out some random game like this? I watched Akron play Eastern Michigan, and my cap was off, Flash, meaning they had a week to prepare for this, a team that loves to shoot the three-pointer. Eastern Michigan lets you shoot the three-pointer, and it looked like they weren't even coached all week long, and they just hung out, relaxed, didn't even shoot or didn't even watch any film. This is one of those games where you take a look at Central Michigan, which is very fluent inside and outside, can shoot the three, can drive to the rim. I want to see early in the game how they treat the Eastern Michigan matchup zone, because if they're cutting and weaving and using the free throw line extended, kicking out for threes, that's a game I want to bet live. But also if I watch this game, be like, who the hell's coaching this team again? I might go Eastern Michigan in that one. It's a very intriguing one where I want to see the first couple of minutes before I place a wager down, Flash.
Okay, that's it. Hot topics done. Eyes down for your full house. Get your worms out. Here we go. We're going to start off with Penn State versus Purdue, 6:30 Eastern Time, BTN. Kick me away, Max.
Yeah, this is a spot where I look at Purdue, not making an official play for the show, but the fact is this is a Purdue team that plays a noticeably different style and different pace at home. They're more efficient scoring the basketball. We're seeing good contributions coming from the bench, coming from the different line combinations that Coach Matt Prater is putting out. I think that when it comes down to it, there's going to be a defensive advantage for Purdue when it comes to guarding the paint, keeping Lamar Stevens out of there, and when it comes to three-point defense, that's going to be the key also for me. I think Purdue wins this game with defense. I think that they cover the 4.5.
Any lines on the totals?
Nothing for me on the total. I think that the total is just about where I would have put it, so no edge whatsoever.
Okay, so maybe have a look in live running. Donnie, Penn State versus Purdue.
Yeah, you know what? Coming in hot, Penn State's winners of 6 straight games. Look at Purdue winners of 3 straight games. The one interesting concept here, which I think Max brings up also, tale of two teams, really. Penn State probably wants to get out and push a little bit more as opposed to Purdue. But the one thing that's interesting, I want to throw it to Max real quick and how he handles these, because I love to try to read into and see what's going to take place. Because when you look at Purdue from an offensive perspective, and they play a team that can go up tempo, we just saw it a few games ago. They put up 104 points if they will engage you in tempo. Is this the type of game where you look for Purdue to influence this game, or as Penn State gets out and running, Purdue can engage them, Max?
Yeah, I think that Purdue definitely can engage if Penn State decides to run. I do not think that they're going to be able to. I think that when you guard really well in transition, the way that guys like Noel Eastern does and Sasha Stefanovic do, I think that you do have the ability to stop Penn State from getting into the paint before you have your defense set.
Okay, just a little bit in the chat. Clarence Davis says, Penn State covers. Not so sure myself. I've got to go with Tackman Clan. He says, Purdue, different side at home. Dangerous. Absolutely dangerous. Let's move on. Plus 10, Rhode Island versus Dayton. Dayton, they're on a roll. But Rhode Island getting 10, Donnie?
How about, yeah, you know what's interesting? It has the same feel last night, doesn't it? When you take a look at Florida State, say, wait a second, Flash, they're getting 8.5 points. That's a really good basketball team. And that one played out. This has a similar feel. I really like Dayton basketball. But one of those underlying factors is Rhode Island and how good they actually are. Flash coming in 10 straight wins, going up against Dayton with a team with 12 straight wins. What's not to like about this game? If we look, here's what it comes down to, right? Dayton's offense, one of the most efficient teams in the country, #1 in conference, going up against Rhode Island's defense, #1 efficient in conference. This is going to come down to who's going to make their shots, because you take a look at it, both these teams don't really turn the basketball over. Both of these teams efficient on offense. It's one of those where I look at it and say, look, Dayton's probably going to get this win, but I'm not going to take Dayton by double digits in this game. I lean towards Rhode Island. It just has the same feel of the game last night with Florida State and Duke for me, Flash.
Max, it looks like a last 2-minute game to me.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think that this is going to be close all the way through. We've seen Rhode Island be very dominant in first halves, averaging 39 points over their last 5. In this number situation, they also have played very well as a double-digit dog. I think that this is a huge game for the Rhode Island Ram team. I think that with David Cox coaching this team, that's going to play a difference. I think they play to the very last second, and I think that Rhode Island sticks in it. So it's an official show play for me at +10.
Yeah, what about Michigan State versus Illinois? I like Illinois, and I think they're far better than Michigan State. Max? Yeah, for me, this is just a play on the under. This is a spot where I think that Michigan State and Illinois, although they're both good free throw shooting teams, they don't get to the free throw line often. What we've seen from Illinois is that they can be a little too reliant on the three-point shot when they need a bucket instead of using the size advantage that they have against most teams. And the fact is, with Michigan State, this is a team that really just doesn't have the scoring that I'm expecting of based on looking at the personnel on the roster. Gabe Brown, Aaron Henry have not been complementary pieces enough to Tillman and Cassius Winston. As far as the side, I don't really have a feel on it, but I do like the under full game as far as the total is concerned. Okay, I'm happy with Illinois. Donnie, are you picking a side or are you sitting on that fence?
Yeah, I'm going to sit on the sidelines in this one, but there's some pretty good points brought up here because when we take a look at Illinois, you guys know me. I like to see what type of styles these two teams are playing. Look, Michigan State #1 in efficiency in the conference on defense. They're going to chase you off the three-point line. #1 in the conference here, Flash, only allowing about 28% from three-point range. Well, that's actually good news for Illinois. Say, wait, why is that good news if they really defend the three? Illinois doesn't really depend on the three-point shot. Now, here's one, Flash, that you like, right? The Big Ten, right, has 14 teams in the Big Ten. Well, they're 13th, Illinois, from actually three-point land making shots, and also the same at actually taking shots. They're going to try to pound it in down low. The one thing I worry about here is this one of those spots where Michigan State absolutely needs this game. 3 straight losses in conference. It's one of those where you think they can get it done, but I think Illinois matches up pretty well with them.
Yeah, well, obviously, I'm Maryland boy, so I want Michigan State to go so far under. It's frightening. Like the under, Max, like the under. New Mexico versus San Diego State. San Diego State, 24-0. You've got to give it one of them. But is there value to be found, Donnie?
You know what's interesting? I mean, New Mexico, real talented team, lost a couple guys to suspension and injury, but now have a couple guys back. If you take a look at Vance Jackson, Jaquan Lyle coming back the last game that they played after dropping, it looks like 5 of 6 games, 97 points versus Wyoming. You're getting a guy, Flash, that averages 17 points, another guy back that averages 10 points out of nowhere, just reappearing. These are the things I like because when you're making up spreads and totals, especially some of the algorithms that they use in Las Vegas or the lines makers come up with, they don't really account for all that much with players coming back. They say, look, here's how the team did on the season. Here's how they should do tonight. I think you're getting some added value and bonus from New Mexico. But outside that we talked about early in the show about San Diego State, they should win this basketball game regardless. They're that good. But maybe a team total over where you're saying, wait a second, I'm getting legitimately back 27 points of offense that already, and we're not guessing. We're not saying, I wonder how he comes back. These two guys came back and played well in their last game. I think you're getting some underlying value. I like New Mexico's team total over in this game, which would lead me to an over in the game as well from both sides.
Okay, over in the game and team total over New Mexico. Yeah. Just let you know in the chat, Matt Randall says, MSU win tonight. There's no way they lose 4 in a row. Max, New Mexico and San Diego State.
Yeah, listen, I guess I'm making the square play. I'm on San Diego State. I think that what I've seen from San Diego State is that they're going to shut you down from the three-point line. They're going to be able to make consistent shots when it comes to Matt Mitchell, Malachi Flynn, and KJ Fagan. They had a complete offensive performance last game out. I think that when you get a Croup back, he could bring some size, adds to some size that's missing without Nathan Mensah in the lineup. And just the fact is, for me, San Diego State starts fast. They start strong so far in conference. This is a team that I expect to hold New Mexico to under 30 points in the first half. And I expect them to get out to a significant lead. This is a team that's been shooting the three ball a lot better. I think that they do need to make a higher emphasis on getting to the free throw line where they do have a lot of success. But when you have a three-point shooter like Jordan Shackle, that is forgotten about a lot. I think that he's a difference maker tonight. I think that against Zane Martin, which I think that that's what will be the matchup when they're both on the floor together, he's going to be able to take advantage of that. And I will tip my hat to New Mexico having a lot of depth and a lot of offensive weapons, but I just think that San Diego State is going to be able to shut them down, see the fact that they did score 97 against Wyoming, who is a very good defensive team, but in the end, it's still Wyoming in my mind. So San Diego State's the play for me. It could be a little square, but I'm hitting it. I'm riding it.
Yeah, I just fancy it might be a Python performance where they squeeze them early, they know they're going to get another W, and they just limp over the line. That's the top rank sorted out. Let's get into the majors, but if you're in the chat and you've got an opinion on the games that we're going through, throw it in. Listen, we're a team here. If you've got something to say, like Matt just said, MSU doesn't see him getting beat 4 in a row. He's on them tonight. I just can't be with them because of my Maryland bias. Okay, let's move on. NC State versus Syracuse. Donnie, take it away.
Yeah, NC State. Here's another one, Flash, where you try to look outside the box and what you can do going up against one of those amoeba-type matchup zones. We all know that Syracuse is long, lean, and they try to chase you around. It's very hard to score points down low. Let's see what NC State has after being off 6 days getting ready for it. But both of these teams, Flash, coming in a little bit on the downside. But again, this is a style with matchups. You're going into an unfamiliar situation. A lot of times you're playing in gyms and you have good shooting backgrounds. When you go to the Carrier Dome, that completely changes. And that's bad news for NC State because when we take a look at what they do from three-point range, 15 teams are in the ACC. So if we take a look and match that up, 35% of the shots for NC State come from three-point range out of 15 teams. Well, if you're looking from a Syracuse defensive footprint and perspective, they let you shoot the three. They want you to shoot the three because if you're making it, all right, you're going to be staying in the game. But if you're cold, they don't let you get anything from inside due to their length because when you take a look at their defensive footprint there, 14th in conference at allowing scoring inside 2-point range. If you're not a good three-point shooting team and you don't shoot with volume from the outside, which NC State does not do, that feeds right into Syracuse here. I like Syracuse at home here. What, minus 4.5, 5.5 in that range? I think they can get the job done, get the win and cover here.
Yeah, I agree, Max, and I think it's more teams should do this. They should just block off, let them throw. If they're hot, you put your hands up and say, okay, you're not going to do that every week, so we'll take our chances. Where are you, NC State and Syracuse?
Yeah, I think that Syracuse does a good job of boxing out and limiting offensive rebounding and second chance opportunities for NC State. Like Donnie alluded to, this is a team that has struggled even more mightily shooting the three ball 27% over the last 5 games. Also, when you look at their totals from an overall perspective, we're seeing some of these numbers in the range that it's in tonight and going under by 7 or 6 or even up to 14 points. This is a spot where I look at taking the under because I do not believe in NC State's ability to score over the zone. I agree with Donnie on the side. And I will point out, if you don't have DJ Funderburk and Jericho Helms in the lineup in the front court for NC State, it's just going to make it more perimeter oriented, and we know what's going to happen. So I agree with Donnie on Syracuse, and I like the under in the game.
Okay, I think Syracuse right across the ball. We've not got many thumbs up for the NC State. Just a reminder that if you are in the chat and you're contributing, just press that thumbs up. Give us a little bit of encouragement. You know what it's like. It's like the whip when the horse. You're not meant to hurt us. You're meant to make us go faster and produce a little bit better. North Carolina versus Wake Forest. Take it away, Max.
Yeah, with this North Carolina team, definitely looking at them as a first half play. This is a spot coming off a very emotional loss. You want to see what they're going to be able to contribute tonight. My one issue and what's stopping me from making a full game play right now is what is the health and availability of Garrison Brooks. I think that in the front court against Oliver Sarr, that's going to be a key matchup. And if it falls in favor of Wake Forest, we know what Wake Forest does offensively. They get to the free throw line, they make their free throws. This is one of the best free throw shooting teams in the country. I think coming off two rough road losses, it could be a situational spot where Wake Forest surprises North Carolina like Clemson. But by my numbers, they favor North Carolina in the first half. And as far as full game play, until I know the status of Garrison Brooks, I won't be making anything.
Donnie, Wake Forest or the Tar Heels?
Yeah, it's going to be a good one here from Saturday night. How do you respond the opposite way? We saw Duke get up off the carpet, after that win and have a nice game on Monday night and pull out a victory. I don't know if the same is going to be true for UNC because Duke is playing for a national championships at this point. UNC, I think, already sees the writing on the wall like, oh, boy, that was really our shot. I can't believe it. We let it slip away. I would actually feel better about Carolina tonight, Flash, if they had gotten blown out by Duke, if that makes sense, because everything was on the line. They were counting their chickens. We're going to knock off a top 10 team. We're going to make our run and get in the tournament. Cole Anthony is going to be a surprise. But looking at the game individually, both of these teams not great on defense. You should get some pace. But the one thing I do want to look at is when you look at North Carolina and Wake Forest. Wake Forest's defense, they allow 40% of their shots from three-point range. Only 29% of the shots for UNC come from three-point range in conference play. That's dead last in conference. But the one thing I do agree with Max, if you're looking at maybe a total in this game and you think the pace is going to be there, which I do, it's always nice to have two teams that foul and two teams that get to the free throw line. Now, also, Wake Forest is a little bit better free throw shooting team than UNC, but that's a nice little angle because sometimes even if the shots aren't going down, if you're getting tempo and fouls, you can make up the difference. I just don't think it's a really good spot for UNC. I lean towards Wake Forest getting the winner tonight.
Yeah, I like the Tar Heels energy. I'm just wondering if someone put a pin in their balloon and now we're going to get a flat performance. If we get a flat performance, I still believe that the points total is over. Over is the way to go. Now, Notre Dame versus Virginia. I like Virginia, Donnie.
Defense is the name of the game here, and one team plays it and one team doesn't. If we take a look at efficiency in the conference, Notre Dame, one of the worst teams in ACC play. Obviously, we know Virginia with that pack line defense, one of the best. They're going to chase. They're not going to chase you off the three-point line, but they're going to defend it. 29% they give up from three-point range, 42% inside. So you're going to have to work it around. The one thing about Notre Dame that's interesting, outside of their last game versus Clemson, which, Clemson's going to slow it down. They played at a much slower pace. Nice win by Notre Dame. Is the fact that if they get some tempo, Notre Dame can score. They're a team that gets into the 70s and the 80s. I'm not so sure that's going to be there tonight. But when we're looking at games with these type of spreads, when Virginia's favored by 4 or 5 or 6 points, it feels like it's an actual real-time spread of I actually like Notre Dame. I lean towards Notre Dame. I think they can hang around in this game, maybe steal the victory, but I don't like laying points with Virginia. I think Notre Dame protects the basketball. They'll get the open look. They can knock down the three. I think they can do some things here.
Max, Notre Dame flattered by that Clemson win, to be honest. I've obviously, that I'm Clemson. I've got my inside track with Clemson. Clemson just no good. Virginia's the way to go here, Max, surely.
Yeah, nothing actually for me on the side in this game, Flash. This is a game that has live betting written all over it. I've already hit it at its high point at under 123. And if Virginia does have their tempo and is able to do what Clemson was able to as far as slowing them down and limiting shot attempts, I think that I'll be hitting this game live on the under if that's the case. That's the way that I look at this game. From a side perspective, I don't really want to bet on Virginia from a side perspective. I don't like betting on them. It hasn't been profitable this year, and the only way that I'm looking at this game is total-wise.
Well, are you looking at Oklahoma State versus Kansas State?
Yeah, with Oklahoma State, definitely I like the fact that you have Thomas DeZigua coming off the bench and really being told to shoot the basketball. I think against Kansas State, it's just a really hard team to really determine what you're going to get. You're getting good performances every now and again out of Xavier Seaton and Carter Diarra, but from a side and total perspective, I don't really have an edge. I'd be looking at Oklahoma State as a dog. They've done a good job on the road. They've done a decent job of rewarding their bettors on the road. I don't have good value, so I'm not going to suggest playing it either way, though.
Donnie, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, lean in, sit in, or you're well involved?
They ought to be leaning off a cliff, both of these teams here, Flash. 1-9, Oklahoma State in conference. Kansas State 2-8. But having said that, sometimes a little bit of that home court advantage might help. If we're looking at Kansas State, I think it's pretty simple in this game. Kansas State wants to shoot the three, shooting about 42% of their shots in conference play from three-point range. There's 10 teams in this conference, Flash. The worst team, or I should have said the team that allows you to shoot the most three-point shots in conference, that's Oklahoma State. If Kansas State can make some threes, they're going to win this game and cover. Look, they're two bad basketball teams. We're covering the game. If it's -3, I don't think Oklahoma State's going to win the game outright, so I'm going to lay the -3 with Kansas State here, Flash.
Okay, let's go mid-major. There's some cracking games here for the little teams. Fordham versus Davidson, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN+. And Donnie, you can go first.
Slow and slower right here, Flash, between these two teams. Look, we know Davidson. Their coach is fantastic. They're going to have an offensive game plan. We understand that. If you've ever watched Fordham play, and I'm talking about, you can watch some MEAC teams, some MAC teams, some, American Conference teams. This team is really slow. This team is maddening. And when you put your money on it, I recommend that you don't even watch the game. When we're taking a look at offensive efficiency in the conference, there's only 14 teams. They're dead last. When we're taking a look at 2-point percentage inside the arc, they are last. 9th from three-point range. They love to shoot the three. They love to turn it over. They love to not get to the free throw line, Flash. And they also love to miss their free throws when they get to the line. Only lean here I have would be Davidson, but honestly, just looking at the total, it's hard in any Fordham game to go over. I think Davidson takes control of this game. I don't think any tempo will be here, and if they're not making shots Fordham, it's going to get ugly for them.
Max, any value on the under then?
From watching the first game, I just don't expect Fordham to be able to be as successful offensively like they were in that first half. When you put up 41 points in the first half, that just makes me wonder, does this Fordham team have some steroids, some performance-enhancing drugs that they did before the game? And I'm not thinking that they're going to be able to carry on that performance. I think that when you don't have Chuba Arms, which you didn't have in the first game, I think that you have an interior weakness that allows Davidson and John Axel Gudmundsson and Kellen Grady to penetrate the bucket. And we have to also remember that when Hai-Jung Lee is in the lineup for this Davidson team, they win and cover games. So I'm looking at leaving this game alone because, like Donnie said, it's a really hard game to watch. But I'd be leaning towards the under. I just want to see the line keep on going up before I hit it.
Yeah, under, lean. Just be patient. That's the beauty of this early morning show. And remember, everyone in the chat, if you're enjoying it, then press the thumbs up. If you're not, put the thumb down. But why would you put the thumb down if you're going to carry on watching it? Okay, a game against the Saints here. Bonaventure and Joe's. We'll go with you, Max.
Yeah, this is a team that I feel very strongly about. St. Bonaventure Bonnies, formerly known as the Brown Indians, but they had the political correctness to change that name. I think that with St. Bonaventure, they are just a team that oozes love from me. I think that when you have Osanu Suni back in the lineup, as long as he doesn't get into foul trouble, he's going to dominate down low. When you look at St. Joe's and Ryan Daly, that's their offense. If you can help defend on Ryan Daly when he's trying to back you up, when he's trying to center you up for a three-point shot at the top of the circle, you're going to have advantages. I think that when you look at St. Bonaventure, they move the ball really well. They have very good depth. When you look at Dominic Welsh and Kyle Lofton, these are two great A-10 guards. I think that they're going to be able to go on the road like they've been able to multiple times this season, and they're going to be able to get a win by margin. So I took the -7, -113. It's an official play for me. I'm looking at St. Bonaventure also as the first half as an addition later on in the day.
So first half, but the big words out of all of that was, it's an official play. Johnny, -7 for Bonaventure.
Yeah, I like St. Bonaventure. I like what they've been doing. 4 straight wins since their big guy came back. But also, this is one of those where I really try to dig into some of the numbers and what I like and try to look for an underlying factor when you take a team that's not so good. And we look at not so good. If you're playing in the A-10 and you're 0-10, not really a pretty good setup here for St. Joe. But having said that, not an efficient offense. We know they have the big guy down low, but what does St. Joe's like to do? There's 14 teams in this conference. They're number one at chucking it from three-point range. Almost 50% of their shots, Flash, come from three-point range. You know what's a perfect match? St. Bonaventure's defense, last in the conference. They let you shoot the three at 49%. This is a match made in heaven. St. Joe's isn't looking to go down low. They're looking to chuck the three-point shots. If they can go in and have some success, I like the team total for St. Joseph's over in this game because it's a perfect match. They'll be losing. They'll be chucking. They're going to try to push the tempo up. I think St. Bonaventure will score, but the underlying factor I love is to find a perfect matchup. One team wants to shoot the three. One team says, please shoot the three. Give me St. Joe's team total over.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I think the over could be the play as well, but obviously if Matt's saying official, -7, that's the biggest start we've got. Okay, we're going to move on. Bowling Green versus Akron. We're going to go with you, Donnie.
Yeah, it's another nice little MAC play in this one. Is again, look, sometimes the games that you last bet on, you sort of have that hangover. Say, God damn you, Akron, I can't believe how you played in that game. They still ended up winning their basketball game, but here's what we got. Two teams with good tempo, two teams good overall. Just looking at it, Bowling Green flashed 9-2 in the conference. Akron 7-3 in the conference. Akron plays well on defense and likes to force the issue on turnovers. We know what the problem is? Bowling Green doesn't turn the basketball over. I think this line is a little bit too high the way it sits here. Akron, we know, look, they didn't shoot very well from three-point range versus Eastern Michigan. That's probably going to be a little bit of an aberration coming into this game because Bowling Green, a little bit more traditional on defense. Let's not forget, this team, Akron, #1 in the conference from three-point range at 40%. Not shooting 40% of their shots from three-point range, making 40% of their shots from three-point range. I think it's a little bit too many points, though. I like Bowling Green with the points here today.
Max, do you like the over or the under? The under seems to be compelling.
Yeah, this is a spot where I look to the under. I think that with Bowling Green not having Dylan Fry in the lineup or on the team anymore, that takes away a significant three-point shooter. I think that when you look at Akron, definitely they play to the vulnerability of their opponent. I think that when you look at some of the games that they played lately, they definitely want to slow it down. They definitely want to keep this game low possession, low shot attempts for their opponents, and they want to cover up their vulnerability on the defensive glass. I think that when you look at Bowling Green from a side perspective, what have they done in conference play when it comes to the road? They've gone out, won games, and covered. This is a spot that if you're spotting me 6.5 to 8 points on Bowling Green, that's the only play for me to make. I will point out, however, that the first half numbers that I go by really favor Akron, but not enough to make it official for the show. My official play for the show is on the under. I think that Bowling Green and Akron both limit each other to under 70 points, and I think that this game stays well within margin. So give me the under 150, please.
Okay, well, we love that word official, and this gives me a great opportunity. March 10th is going to be a poker tournament. I love me poker. Rafa, what have you got about the poker tournament, please?
Hey guys, Lee Martin here. On Saturday, February 15th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, SBR is hosting a poker charity tournament to raise awareness about Angelman syndrome, or AS. AS is a rare disorder that currently has no cure. Symptoms include developmental delays, no or minimal use of words, seizures, and a few other serious conditions. To take part in the event, reserve a seat by logging into the SBR Poker client and buy into the event with 200 bet points. For each buy-in made, SBR will donate $20 to cureangelman.org. If you're curious if this is a legitimate charity, know that this is SBR's 6th year running this tournament. SBR will also provide a list of donors as well as an invoice of payment to the charity once the event concludes. Over here at SBR, we have members of our forum family that have been directly affected by this syndrome. Our goal is to raise more awareness and help drive fundraising to support research and an eventual cure for Angelman syndrome. We hope for an even greater turnout this year, so please spread the word to friends, family, and anyone else who is willing to participate in the event. I'll see you then.
So that's March 10th. Come and get me if you fancy you are good enough. You can have my bounty. I fancy I will outstay the majority, and it's the final table that I'll be aiming for. But before that, it's Eastern Michigan, Central Michigan. Donnie, how's your poker?
Yeah, action here. Eastern Michigan, again, one of those amoeba-type defenses that we were talking about. At least I keep talking about. I don't know how anybody else cares about Eastern Michigan, but I certainly do. We're looking at this game. What does Eastern Michigan do well in conference? Well, really not that much, except for throw a defense out that most other teams don't see. Coming into conference play, Eastern Michigan, however, 2 of the last 3 games, they played really well, picking up 2 victories. Actually, last 3 games, almost had 3 total victories there. Central Michigan, only with 1 conference loss when they have their full starting 5 back. I like this team. But again, coming into this, we talked about where do you like to bet live in this game. This is one of those games I like. If Central Michigan can show right away that they can attack this Eastern Michigan zone, they shouldn't have any problem going away with an easy winner. But that always comes back how teams play if their 3-point shots are going down. Because when you take a look at what Eastern Michigan does well on offense, not much. Least efficient team in conference play. Are horrible at 3-point shooting. And also, check this out, Max and Flash. This team shoots as a team 60% from the free throw line. Is that the team that you want coming down the stretch, whether they have a lead or don't have a lead, to make shots to get you over total or even team total? Central Michigan are nobody here for me so far.
Central Michigan or nobody, Max? Are you a lean? I want to hear official.
Yeah, no, I'm on an official play in this game. I took Central Michigan over 137. My numbers like this game to go into the 140s, so I had enough value to warrant making a play for the show. Plain and simply is this. I think that Eastern Michigan is going to be able to score the basketball in Central Michigan's offense. I think that we're going to see Eastern Michigan go against the grain from what we've seen and expected from them as far as a total perspective. And they're going to be forced to get into Central Michigan's pace because Central Michigan's going to be able to score the basketball tonight. I think that with David DeLeo and Rob Montgomery, they're going to have a better game. They're going to have better matchup advantages. And I think against guys like Ty Gross and Bobakar Sari, it's just not going to be enough to stop them from getting up and down the floor. The fact is, I think that we've seen a lot of less than stellar performances out of Eastern Michigan's backcourt, especially Darian Spotsville. This is a guy that I thought that was going to step into a starter's role and really just hasn't been able to blossom at all. And then with also in the backcourt, when you look at Yeekson Montero, the junior college transfer, this is a guy that I expect to have some good matchup advantages for Eastern Michigan offensively. I think that the guard play really stands out for Eastern Michigan tonight. I think that Central Michigan gets their pace, gets their 3-point shooting, and gets David DeLeo going, and he has a monster game. I took the over 137.
Over 137, happy because it said official in the title. We've had Eastern Michigan, Central Michigan. Now we're going to go to Western Michigan, and they're against Ohio, Donnie.
Yeah, another MAC play. Look, it's a MAC day on Tuesday, and I like it because some of these teams really show some effort, and you get some good, reads on a few of these basketball games. But take a look at Western Michigan coming in 4 of 6. They actually won their last 2 games. Ohio 3-7 and snapped a long losing streak with that last victory over Miami of Ohio. When you look at these games, sometimes you just say, your first instinct is usually the right instinct. You see Ohio favored by 7. You say, well, how am I going to try to factor in and take Western Michigan in this basketball game? I think they match up really well because if you're going to give me points in a game where I'm not so sure the better team is even the home team in this aspect, if we look at Western Michigan, shoot 35% from 3-point range, but also a nice little matchup here. They like to shoot 34% of their shots in conference play from 3-point range. Ohio's going to let you shoot 36% of your shots from 3-point range. And then we take a look at it like point distribution and how it breaks down. 28% of the points come from 3-point range for Western Michigan. 29% come from Ohio State's defense. If we look and try to ground and pound down low inside the arc, 50% of the points come from Western Michigan inside the 3-point range. And then if you take a look at Ohio's defense, 52% is what they give up. It's a nice style here for Western Michigan. And also one of those things that factors out. They shoot 72% from the free throw line, being Western Michigan, versus Ohio only at 66%. So if we're coming down the stretch, and this is one of those foul games where Ohio has the lead, maybe they don't make those 1-and-1s. Give me Western Michigan here.
Okay, before I go to you, Max, we've got 248 in the live chat, only 75 thumbs up, so that's 173 if my maths is on point. That are just sitting on the fence. Don't sit on the fence. We're digging worms, you're eating them. Max, 3 official plays so far in the MAC. Any more?
This game's not going to be an official play, but I also feel the same way as Donnie, When you look at the fact that this is a Western Michigan team that is going to penetrate the bucket, they've gotten some really nice wins, and I think that they have the size and physicality to really frustrate Jordan Dardis and Jason Preston. Preston's one of the best point guards in the MAC. I will give him that. He's coming off a triple-double game, and Ben Vanderplees is a dangerous three-point weapon that's developed within this Ohio system. But the reality is, with Mike Flowers and Brandon Johnson, these are two guys that can, first off, get inside, they can guard, they can play two-way basketball, and if you want to spot me 3 buckets with them on the road, I think that's a worthy shot to take as well.
Okay, listen, Jansen makes a great point in this game. Western Michigan, Ohio, the home is 20-8. Just don't look any further. Ohio, they get the job done. Northern Illinois versus Ball State, Max.
Yeah, this is a spot that I doubled up officially for the show. How can we not continue riding Northern Illinois? They've been putting cash in our pocket. The tape play of the day from our main man, Matt Randall. What has he been teaching us? What has he been showing us? Cash Northern Illinois ticket over and over again. Well, I'm going back to the grain again tonight with Northern Illinois because you know what? Getting 8 points at Ball State is a little disrespectful for a team with Eugene Germán and Darius Bean and Lacey James. These are guys that play well on the road. We've seen that already in conference with wins against Kent State and Toledo. I am going against the grain with the total. Also, a fellow low bagger and hopefully someone that's in the chat, Raven in the Desert is also on this over with me. I think that when you're getting Northern Illinois totals in the 130s to 135 range, that's something that has me more interested. But at this number, it's just a little too low by my estimations and by my power ratings. The fact is, Ball State has a very inexperienced backcourt. There is no KJ Walton. It puts a lot of pressure on Tajay Teague to handle the ball, score the ball, and drive to the bucket. I think that Northern Illinois is going to be able to frustrate them. I think that they're going to be able to keep them off the free throw line. And I think that Northern Illinois is going to stay in this game, if not win this game. I took +8 and the over 125 for show purposes, but I definitely will find myself on the money line within the first 5 or 6 minutes of the game, live or pregame. Not determined yet, but check me out on Twitter and you'll see what happens.
Wow, that's proper gold. That we've got money line, we've got +8. We're going to go over. Gives me an opportunity to say to you that to press that button, like, press the bell, subscribe, and then we'll let you know. And you won't miss a show. Talking of shows, Jimmy's back tomorrow. I think it's 10:30 Eastern time. A brand new show. We wish him all the best, and we'll all be here watching him. Donnie, you loving Northern Illinois and Ball State?
Yeah, you know, Max brings up a lot of good points here. We're talking about two teams in this conference that play pretty good on defense, but also sometimes you got to have the heat check. You see it in the NBA, you see it in college basketball. A guy hits 3 straight threes. He pulls up from damn near half court and says, you know what? Let me see if this works again. Why break something that's, or try to break something that's not even broken? If we look at NIU so far coming in 6 straight winners, they've played 4-6 at home and now go on to a 2-game road trip. But also Ball State was out on the road, now coming home. 8 points seems a little bit too much. And the reason I'm saying that is they can both score. We understand Eugene Germán is fantastic. But if we take a look at a tempo place, slower possessions for NIU on offense, slower possessions for Ball State on offense, and they play good defense. It seems like a lot of points in that instance. And if you're looking at NIU games, this team can get down in the mud and kick and scream with you as well as anybody else. 8 points is a lot. They're going to have to get beat by basically double digits in this game to lose the spread. I like NIU here. I think it's a great one. And also, I do like to say this about the chat box as well. Thanks, you guys, for tuning in. The great part about having a morning show is we all go over these games together. Follow us all on Twitter and use the hashtag #MarchIntoMadness. You get our official show plays right there, play of the days. You could track it very easily that way. But we do want to thank you for tuning in and watching it live for us.
Yeah, and also love the feedback. Love the feedback from yesterday. You trolls, you try to breathe, but you're under a bridge. But sooner or later, you come out and you just get killed by the love. Okay, Air Force versus Boise State. Take it away, Donnie.
Yeah, Air Force, Boise State. Look, Air Force 6 straight losses coming in. Not a very good team. Boise State, as we know, 5-game win streak, which was actually just snapped. But if you're taking a look at defense, That's not what Air Force does. And we're talking about from a military perspective. You think the Air Force is really good at defense? Not so much in this game. What do they do well? Nothing. They don't defend the 3. They don't defend the 2. They foul. I mean, this is going to be a game where Boise State should be able to control the tempo in this. Boise State likes to shoot almost 45% of their shots from three-point range in conference. Hey, guess what? 11th in the conference against letting you shoot the 3. That's Air Force. It's Boise State all day. Team total, covering the line. Just absolute wax job tonight, I believe, for Boise State here.
God, you're as enthusiastic about Boise State as Max was about getting rid of his fluids, Max.
Yes, well, you know how I love to practice supporting the community and having my fluids extracted. But in this game, I'm actually on the other side, Flash.
Wow.
I'm going with Air Force. I think that Air Force, I know it's been a real putrid show seeing them lose spreads by 20-plus points, but I think coming off that game against San Diego State, they're going to be just a little overvalued. I think Boise State wins this game. I think that with Boise, you know that they're going to be able to get to the free throw line, but I do wonder about how Boise is going to be able to play if they don't have my fellow Canadian Abu Kebab in the lineup. We've seen what he's really been able to contribute offensively and handling the ball and having good size overall. I think that if he doesn't play, I like my Air Force play a little more. I was thinking about making a play on Boise State first half just because the numbers really like it, and we've seen Air Force really stutter and really have to play up to competition in the second half, but I didn't get there yet. So my official play is Air Force plus 12. I think that they are in a position where you see and expect them to fall on their face, but then eventually they're going to get back up. So this is a spot that I think happens. My numbers like this at a plus 9.5 for Boise State. So 2.5 points of value is enough for me to make it an official play. So going head to head with Donnie, but at least we're not betting each other. We're betting our books.
Oh, what a horrible stinking official play. Air Force plus 12. Donnie's on Boise State. Let's see if we can meet him in the middle. Maybe a bit of live betting, and we'll have both sides, and we'll have 2 worms in one game. But when Max starts going for Air Force, I think that it's time that he needs to go and have a lie down. So let's go Utah State, Colorado State, Max, and then I can let you and the men in white coats come and pick you up.
Yeah, with this Utah State team, they're finally starting to play the defensive basketball and the quality of basketball that we expected earlier on in the season. Definitely burned a bunch of your money, especially when you bet on them on the road. And obviously they're on the road tonight against Colorado State. And I will point out, Colorado State is looking like a tasty home dog to me tonight. The line opened at Pick'em. It's over now at 2.5. 3s at some of the European books, but I just gotta look. I gotta look at Colorado State from a side perspective. It's not going to be an official play as of yet, but when you have Isaiah Stevens winning 3 games on his own with game-winning shots, all Colorado State has to do is stay in this game and find a way to contain Keita and Bean in the front court. Obviously, easier said than done. I think that if Colorado State can get out and score the basketball in transition and not allow Utah State to slow them down and hold them under 30 points in the first half, that's going to be a good freaking momentum builder. And that Colorado State building is going to be packed tonight. They're going to be ready for Utah State. I think that when you shoot 44% over your last 5 games from the 3-point range, you get to the line 20 times a game. That's going to pay dividends. And as long as they can hold up on the glass with Nico Carvacho staying out of foul trouble, I look at Colorado State as a little home doggy.
Wow. Loving that value, Donnie. Please tell me you're liking Colorado State hosting Utah.
I do. I think Max is in the right position here. You're taking a look at a team, winners of 8 and 9, excuse me, coming back home. But also, Utah State has played really well also. A funny little key story here is I played college football in the mid to late 90s here in New Jersey. And I want to say Nico Caravaggio was just getting into his freshman year at Colorado State in 1999. He's still at Colorado State to this day. But the one matchup I really like in this game, to be honest with you, Utah State wants to get to the free throw line. Colorado State doesn't foul. If you have a large chunk of your offense, number one in the conference, get this, 24% of the points from Utah State come from the three-point line. If Colorado State doesn't foul, they're actually giving up last in the conference at points from the free throw line. I think that's going to be a huge difference. You're going to play at elevation. Now, look, Utah State still plays at elevation, but Colorado State is going to pull out this victory tonight. I just think the matchups are there. They're home. They're hot. Why not stay with them? Good call, Max.
Truth Seeker in the chat says, home doggy. Listen, we like any doggy. I promise you that. We've got 99 thumbs up. I need one more for the century. I'll raise my bat and I'll say, cheers, Donnie. Cheers, Max. Max, you go and replenish them fluids because you look a bit low. You look a bit pale. You look as if you've been up all night messing about with the wrong type of sport. Donnie, great job, mate. I'll see you again in the morning. Have a great night tonight, gents, and everyone in the chat. Go eat them worms. So that's Max and Johnny and myself, Flash, everyone in the chat. Been a great morning. Thanks for the feedback. Put it into context. 16 games today we capped. Let's hope we have 16 winners. You take care.